Okay, we're running a little late. Posters tonight for your.
Posters?
Huh?
Oh, that's right, because
Paul Stannard is on vacation. I mean, we can give away grips, but we gave away grips last night or stickers or something like that.
oh, we gave away posters.
We gave away posters last week. Well, then do grips. And when Paul gets back, here. And when Paul gets back, he'll mail him when he gets back.
All right, he's away, but
Yeah, he's away.
or not. Listen to me, relax.
No,
Don't have remember to breathe.
I will.
Don't talk to the friends. At 6 o'clock.
I'm Jerry Maddox,
And I'm Ryder Maddox in sunny California.
and you're watching Vintage Motocross Q&A, hosted by Joe Abbate.
Hosted by Joe Abbate. Hey everyone, you're watching Vintage Motocross Q&A, and I am Joe Abbate. Thank you for joining me tonight. Got a great show lined up for you, including some race coverage from Jerry Maddox, a really great video from Roy Vanderveer, and some other really great and informative things as well. As always, I want to thank our sponsors who help make this show possible. Motion Pro, Vintco, George Ackerman and the Moto Barn, Preston Petty Products, ReplicaMotorcycleParts.com, Racer X, the International Motocross Museum, Full Circle Racing, and my dear friend, Mike Chamberlain. As always, we want to thank Sean Gomes from FastGuyStuff.com and, of course, Fred from Durf's Cycle. If you haven't noticed already, I am wearing the Amsoil shirt. Got it right here from my buddy, Russell Waters. I want to welcome Russell Waters and Amsoil back into the fold here at Vintage Motocross Q&A. We'll be talking more about Amsoil and Russell Waters and some great giveaways that we'll be doing here in the near future. So of course, Susie, are you with me tonight?
I'm right here.
There you are. Look at you, as vibrant as ever. What will be tonight's listener appreciation prize? Are we going with the grips or the posters?
No, we're going with grips. Even though the standards are away until, I believe, September
10th or 11th or something? Yeah.
But they'll get them to the winner when they return from their trip.
Okay.
So that's what the winner appreciation person will be.
Right. How about you hold the grip straight up and down so people can see? You ever watch Diane Parkinson on The Price is Right? How she does it, she moves her
Like
hands.
Vanna, like Vanna.
Well, if Vanna would be good too.
Vanna, I'm not.
Okay.
And I use this.
That's the way you hold it. Right.
And these are the grips.
Thank you, my dear.
And that's it.
Let's get on with the show. What else was I doing? Oh, I want to tell everyone that you can, if you like, make a donation to the show right through PayPal. There is a link on our Vintage Motocross Q&A page. We also have stickers available, 2-inch by 5-inch, 2 for $6, beautiful on the back of your truck or any place you might want to put them. Just How I See It segment this week. I don't know why I chose this, Susie, as the Just How I See It, but I was having some things just run through my brain this morning, and just how I see it. Well, number one, how I see it is it's Roger DeCoster's birthday today. Roger is the ripe old age of 80, 80, okay? And just how I see it, quickly. The first time I opened up a motorcycle magazine was probably 1971 or 72. I was 12 years old. The Americans had not really been on this scene yet. There wasn't a lot of coverage in America for motocross. I saw a lot of Roger DeCoster, Joe Abbate. Saw a lot of that European stuff. I was a little too young to really grasp that at the time. But it seemed as the years went on, and the very close years as well, 73, 74, of course, Roger was always there. When it comes to motocross, he's always been there. I've often compared him. Well, look, I'm just going to say it in my mind. When I think about rock and roll, when I think about music, the first thing I remember, the first thing that comes to mind is Paul McCartney and the Beatles on the Ed Sullivan Show. And it's been that way ever since. I don't know, McCartney's been around, Roger's been around, McCartney's got him by a couple of years. But it just always has been that way. It's kind of like baseball, Babe Ruth, and there's Roger, and there's McCartney, and I'm sure there are some sports that people immediately think of one person when it comes to mind. But throughout the show, if you want to put down your thoughts or wish Roger a happy birthday, maybe you can tell me when you first saw him, if you got an autograph, one way or the other. We're always interested in hearing your thoughts, and today's a good special day to be hearing about Roger DeCoster on his 80th birthday. Right now, in the Next Time Try This segment, which is brought to you by Vinco, I have a two-part video sent to us by Roy Vanderveer. This is going to be very helpful for you guys who ride those mid-80s into the 90s bikes that have disc brakes. Okay, Roy put this video together. I think it's going to be very helpful. We're going to watch the first half here, and then we'll be back a little bit later on with the remaining part of Roy's video. Here we go.
Here, coming at you with some brake caliper advice. I'm working on a different type of classic motorcycle today, but brake calipers are also similar and fundamentally the same. I thought that this might provide some information for somebody and help you have a better day. So I'm working on a 1978 GS 1000E. This bike has been in storage for 30 years, and we're just getting it out and getting it ready to ride again. And the thing I want to do is replace the rubber parts in the brake caliper, primarily the piston O-rings. And we need to get in there to get them out. Since all calipers are about the same, this applies to most of the bikes out there. So if you're riding one of the 80s or 90s or 2000s dirt bikes, once these parts get to be about 20 years old, they tend to get hard and they cause the pistons to stick in the caliper, which will make your brakes drag. So I'm not even messing around with this one. It's been in storage for 30 years, so it's getting new parts. Where there's some differences, this is a dual piston caliper with one piston on each side, but all the parts are really the same. So we take the inspection cover off. These two bolts hold the two caliper halves together. We split the caliper. The brake pads come out nice and easy on this one. And then now we need to get the pistons out of the caliper halves. And the way I do that is with compressed air. And for this inboard half, we got to take the bleeder screw out, set that aside. And then we're just going to use compressed air to push that piston out. I have this nice little funnel under my vise that'll catch it. If you don't have something, it's best to wrap a towel around this, or the piston could end up in another county. Oh. There we go. Glad it didn't put up too much of a fight and make me look bad. And then we can give that a quick inspection, and we don't see any rust or significant damage on there. And then let's try this half, and we can just go in through the brake hose line there. Let's get this lined up. Go. And just that easy, we've got pistons out on the table. And then the thing you want to really look at, and you will see deep in there, that brake fluid has just turned into a honey-like paste, which is of course no good. And then the part that we're interested in, that we want to get out, is that piston seal. So we'll need a pick. And we'll just get behind it. and pull it on out. Then what you want to look at very carefully is the groove that that piston ring sits in, and make sure it's perfectly clean and clear. What happens over time is corrosion will build up behind the O-ring, which of course tightens the O-ring on the piston, which further enhances the or reduces the brake's capability to release, so you end up with a dragging brake. And let's see if this will comes off easy. That lets us take a look in there even a little better. So then here's the insider secret. If there's plaque buildup in that groove, I simply take a rotary tool with a wire brush wheel on the end, and you can go in there real carefully and clean all of that out. Make it nice and shiny, just like new. And then we've got new seals, and then assembly is just the reverse of what we just did. And that will get your drag and brake caliper back in action.
I want to thank Roy Vanderveer for bringing us that little video this week. We have the second part coming up a little bit later on in the show. Susie, keeping track of the listener, the viewer appreciation, people?
I am.
All right, we're going to be right back after this word from Vinco.
I'm Don Kadowski, and you're watching Vintage Motocross Q&A. Don't go anywhere.
Vinco, who already has a full line of vintage parts, now has air shocks that are an exact duplicate of the original air shocks so popular in the late 70s. So whether you're looking to build a full racer or museum showpiece, these shocks will give you that incredible 70s look and improve your bike's performance. These new air shocks are fully rebuildable with Vinco rebuild kits, and all shocks are hand assembled in the USA with all new components. Every component is brand new. Just like the originals, our air shocks are adjustable with 2 chambers, high and low pressure, giving you tremendous flexibility for settings of your bike's suspension. The Vinco air shocks come fully assembled and ready for installation. Just add air or nitrogen. The kits include the manual and spacers. Visit Vinco.com to check out the air shocks and all that Vinco has to offer to help you get back on track and to keep that ride going.
Vinco, keep the ride going with over 1,000 products in their catalog. And don't forget, there's free shipping on everything over $200. Any order over $200, free shipping from Vinco. This week, they've got the KDX 200 and 220 crank. This is for the 1995 to 2006 Kawasaki. KDX 200 and 220, completely rebuilt. I'm sorry, completely new, not rebuilt, ready to be installed in your bike. They also have top-end kits for your DT 125s, 175s, TYs, all that great stuff available and coming to you from Vinco. Don't forget, if you want some vintage motocross Q&A stickers, get a hold of me and we'll get you two for $6. Shipping included. They can be made any size. The 2 you see right here are 2 inches by 5 inches each, but they can be made bigger. Vintage motocross Q&A stickers. The What's It Worth segment tonight is brought to you by Full Circle Racing. Don't forget to see Tom McAllister for your on-road, off-road, dual-purpose street bikes and vintage. Tom McAllister and Full Circle Racing. This is, of course, the What's It Worth segment. This is the part of the show where I encourage you, the viewers at home, to guess how much you think this bike recently sold for. Susie will keep an eye on the details while I go through the slides and read you a little bit about some of this bike. 1970 Bultaco Sherpa S was acquired by the seller in 2014. Subsequently, it was refurbished as a vintage motocross racer with work that included rebuilding the 196cc 2-stroke engine. They also fitted a set of air Fox shocks on the rear. Powder coating to the frame, custom fabricated billet aluminum components are included, and the bodywork was refinished as well. Additional features include a 5-speed transmission, air adjustable fork, Pro Taper handlebars, Akron alloy rims, and a Mikuni carburetor. The Sherpa S Mark II is now offered at a no reserve price in Florida, or it was, and it is for off-road use only, and it does have a frame stand. It only has a bill of sale. The frame was sandblasted. It was reinforced before being powder coated the bright silver, while the fuel tank and side panels were painted yellow with white accents, and clear coat was applied over the decals. Equipment includes a high mount front fender, front and side number plates, and a black seat. How nice that they included a black seat. Anyway, photos showing the bubbling on the fuel tank repair near the end of the gas cap can be viewed in the gallery. The two-stroke engine was factory rated at 29 horsepower. It was overhauled during the refurbishment. The muffler, front drive sprocket guard, and exhaust mounting collar were custom fabricated from billet aluminum for the build. The bike earned Best Competition in 2018 and 2019, riding into history Concours d'Elegance. And there you have it. There's the blue ribbon that goes with it. Well, now you've seen the bike. It does look pretty good. It is a rather unusual 200cc model. How much do you think this bike recently sold for? It was on Bring a Trailer, by the way. $5,000? $4,800? $5,500? Bike sold for $5,800 plus another 5%. I want to thank Bill Mashell from the Vintage Motocross Buyers and Sellers Price Guide page for keeping us up to date on sales. But between $5,800 and another 5%, I'll tell you what, anybody that gets within $100 either way of $6,000 wins some stickers. We got anybody, Susie? 58, 61, 62?
61 Lee Miller.
61 Lee Miller, you son of a gun, you're the winner. Lee Miller, congratulations. You are the winner. You get a couple of stickers, compliments of Vintage Motocross Q&A. We will be right back after this word from our sponsor, Full Circle Racing.
I get asked often, what's the most important thing on Clunker? Answer simple, it's me. That's why I use Full Circle Racing wheels prepped by Tom McAllister. So should you. Watch this and learn why. When racing vintage motocross where suspension is very limited, your wheels can be the difference between winning or serious injury. We chose to run Full Circle Racing wheels because of the super high quality materials and the heavy duty spokes used. Prepped by Tom McAllister, I have the confidence on the track to push way harder through the rough stuff and the bigger jumps, knowing my wheels are going to stay under me. Hey, Clunker may be 50 years old, but his wheels are brand new, and yours should be too. Call Tom McAllister at Full Circle Racing today.
In the Here's the Problem segment tonight, we take a look at some of the questions that have been sent in to us over the past week or so. The Here's the Problem segment is, of course, brought to you by Motion Pro. All the best stuff you could ever get for your bike. They make every job so much easier. That is Motion Pro. Question number one comes to us from Mike Conley Sr. Mike's been sending a lot of good questions in lately, and I like this one. Why did the magazines give the prototype Cooper 250 such a high rating, and those same magazines gave the production Coopers such a poor rating? Well, I'm going to tell you about that, Mike. I did a little research on this, and it also stirred up some memories that I had about the Cooper. More about that a little bit later. Now, first of all, the Cooper was the brainchild of Frank Cooper, who was a distributor for Mako in Southern California. Everybody knew who Frank was at the time. A lot of people, of course, knew the Mako brand as well. But what Frank's idea was to bring in a bike that would be a little less expensive than the European brands, your Makos and Huskies, and whether it was DKWs at the time, CZs, of course. He wanted to bring in a bike that was a little less expensive than those European bikes. In turn, he wanted to make it a little more expensive, but a little more interesting than, of course, your Yamaha at the time. There really wasn't much offered at the time from Japanese companies as far as motocross bikes went. Yeah, you had your TMs, and you had your MXs from Yamaha. Kawasaki didn't have too much to offer back then. They had that 450, or they had the F11, I think it was called. But anyway, Frank goes out there and he comes up with an idea to go to Mexico and build a bike. He contracts a guy named Isidoro Lopez. He was a manufacturer of mopeds and some other small motorcycles in Mexico. They get together and they're going to release this bike in early '73. Now, What happens is, in reference to your question, why did the magazines give it such a big buildup in the beginning? Very simple. I think they were excited over Frank Cooper doing this right out of Southern California. I think they had just about turned the corner with motocross in America. The European bikes, sort of fragile, a little bit on the expensive side, not much happening really out of Japan. So the magazines, I think they got a little overzealous, okay? And when the prototype came out, they really sent it off with all the high hopes you could ever imagine that when it would be released, it was going to be the next big thing. Unfortunately, there's a couple of things that Cooper didn't count on. We're talking about late 72, 73, coming into 74 now, okay? Think about this. Yamaha YZ125, Yamaha YZ 74, 250 and 360. 74 Husqvarna Mako 674 Husqvarna 250 Mag. We also had the legendary Honda 250 Elsinore, okay? You're all excited about the Cooper way back there in late 72, 73. Meanwhile, the biggest manufacturers, Falta, came out. They had the Falta CZ2. Even that was huge. All these brands came out with some of the biggest bikes, even till this day, the most sought-after bikes there ever were. How could the Cooper possibly keep up with that? Let alone all that, there was poor metallurgy problems. Nobody was into having fiberglass gas tanks and fenders anymore. And soon the Cooper went the way of the dodo. Performance just wasn't there, and that was it. So a big rage opening, but didn't go very far, especially when other brands started to catch on with some of the best bikes that were ever built. Mike Conley, I want to thank you for sending in some really great questions to us over the past month, and I hope that was satisfactory to you and to anybody else that was wondering about the Cooper. By the way, they using engine parts for the Cooper. Some of them were made in Italy. Some of them were made by Sachs. It was a copy of the Yamaha engine internally. It was even said that Malcolm Smith had designed the Enduro model. So there was a lot of high hope for that bike. Unfortunately, it just did not come to pass. Okay, we are now going to. I got another question. This is from our new sponsor, show supporter guy, friend, Ben, from the Vintage Mini Bike page. Ben thought this was a great question, and it is. I get it. It's been around for a while, though. Good morning. I have the perfect Q&A viewer question. What are your thoughts on powder coating or paint when it comes to vintage restorations? Now, Ben is from the Mini Bike page, okay? So his forte is the mini bikes. It's very, very simple. When it comes to restorations, you want to paint your bike. When you want to race it or just rebuild it, you can use powder coating, okay? And when it comes to restorations, many people do forget there is only one definition of restore: repair or renovate a vehicle, a building, a work of art, so as to return it to its original condition. The building has been lovingly restored. Now, Ben, let me say this. Powder coating has been around a long time, a lot longer than people think. I think it actually came out in the 30s or 40s. Don't quote me on that. I do remember, though, boilers or hot water heaters, furnaces in old houses that were powder coated. You should check on some of these old mini bikes. It's possible that some of them actually were powder coated, okay? But in the meantime, for race, for rebuilds, powder coat all you want. For restoration, it should be correct, and you should have those bikes painted. Don't forget, Ben's Vintage Mini Bike Lovers podcast, the next live broadcast is coming up on September 8th, Susie. September 8th. Thank you, Ben, for the questions. That segment, of course, was brought to you by Motion Pro. 20% off across the board at Motion Pro. Type in the code MP9135, MP9135. We'll get you 20% off across the board on everything except custom-made cables. If you want shirts, I've got them. Susie's making them. She's cranking them out like an old Italian woman making lasagna in a basement. You won't believe it. $19.99 for T-shirts. They come in gray, black, white, actually any color you would like, but the prices start at $19.99. We have hoodies. We have T-shirts. Susie apparently wants to show off the hat. Let's see what she's got here. Susie, you got the hat on? Let me see. Oh, yeah. There it is, the Vintage Motocross Q&A hat. We've got plenty of those for just $18 plus shipping. we've got cups, we've got koozies, we've got it all going on at Vintage Motocross Q&A. We have, we're going to take a little break here from the International Motocross Museum. I have a big announcement coming up after that. Let's see what's going on at the International Motocross Museum right now.
Hi, I'm Warren Reed. You're watching Vintage Motocross Q&A. We'll be right back.
Motocross struck America, coming from Europe like a lightning bolt, striking the hearts and minds of people all across the country and the world. Battles of intense racing and cutting rivalries with loyalty to brands and heroes intensified as years of blood, sweat, and dirt flew through the minds of those memories of champions as they wrestled their machines through almost impossible tracks. But where are those past champions? And where are their bikes? Terry Good, an ex-pro motocross racer, has made it his life mission to honor these heroes and the bikes they rode to stardom. We raced, we rode, we lived and breathed motocross. Go back in time and relive those moments, now preserved for the first time ever in the world's first museum dedicated to the history of motocross. Our new building is in the gate. Help us get a great start and you can be part of history. Go to internationalmotocrossmuseum.org and become a part of our team.
The International Motocross Museum is a not-for-profit 501c3 organization. Get over to internationalmotocrossmuseum.org. Get yourself a hat, shirt, clock, posters. They've got all sorts of great things over there. And I've got a little bit of an interesting announcement for you right here. And you see this bike, 1973, Roger DeCoster's bike. This is the infamous Sand Tank bike that he won his world championship on, one of his 5 world championships. How would you like to hear this bike run, actually here at start? Would you like that? I bet you would, wouldn't you? Here's a better picture of it right here. There it is, with the Sand Tank on it. This is the one that he built at Lucian Tilken's shop the night before that race that he won, barely winning that championship that year. But anyway, would you like to hear that bike run? You can hear it run, and it's going to happen at the International Motocross Museum picnic. That's right. There's a picnic coming up in Chicago. Terry Good put an announcement out about it here on his Facebook page. Breaking news, there's going to be a startup, and we're talking about this bike that you just saw right there. This October 19th, the IMM Event 3 is going to happen. We're going to fire up Roger DeCoster's 73 500cc World Championship RN Suzuki with the open Stinger. It's going to make quite a racket. We will also display many, many other bikes, the famous Sand Tank bike, and many, many other bikes in the past 51 years of racing. That is happening in or outside Chicago, Illinois on October 19th. I will be there. So will some very famous, legendary, international and national motocross legends, and over 50 bikes will be on display. If you have made a donation to the International Motocross Museum, a cash donation, you're invited. It's that simple. All you got to do is be there. Look at the International Motocross Museum page. You'll find out about hotels. Of course, the airport is just about 20 minutes away, and it's going to be a blast. It's going to be absolutely outrageous, huge. I'll say this. There will be a concession for food. There will be a concession for drinks. I'm not saying that goes along with being there on the International Motocross Museum, but this is going to be a first-class facility, 50 bikes, and casual. Casual. Take all the pictures you want. Take videos. This is the last time you'll be able to get this close to these bikes before the gates swing open on the International Motocross Museum. That is going to happen sometime around June, July 2025. The Moto Showcase is up next. The Moto Showcase is brought to you by Preston Petty Products. Be sure to get over to PrestonPettyProducts.com. You can get some of the beautiful fenders and plastic goods that we've all loved since our childhood, like these fenders and number plates right here. Now, tonight's Moto Showcase is really something quite interesting. This is a bike that I had seen on Facebook several times over the past couple of months, and I just thought it was really fascinating. It's an XR200. It looks like it's set up like a works bike from, I would say, early 80s into the 90s with the single shock. Just a really interesting looking bike. So Kenny Vaughn decided that he wanted to send his bike in, and he sent in several that he has built. I'm going to go through the slides while he talks about how he got involved with building these beautiful little XR200s. Okay, here we go, is what Kenny says. My buddy JC Bacchus, who was featured on your show, called me and told me he had come up with a new idea. He was building an 01 RM chassis with an XR200 engine. The Texas Vintage Boys here in Texas were going to have a class for them at their event. I loved it. JC has done such a great job. I wanted to build one too. I was looking for a bike to do, and I found an 05 KX250F with a blown engine. I got it, and JC called me and asked me, do you have an engine? He asked me, and I didn't have one, but then he asked me if I wanted to trade, and we got something worked out with an XR200 tank, and the timing was perfect. Anyway, I got the 200. I immediately took out the engine, and I built the KXR200. It was a stellar bike. I knew that they had an XR200 race at Diamond Don's and the Armor National. So I started asking questions. Who's in charge? What were the rules? What does go on at this event? I got in touch with Bubba Dennis, who was promoting the race, and he told me what the rules were. He told me that it had to be an XR200 frame, a 2-valve XR200 engine, no more than 205 cc's. It must have drum brakes. I asked if there was anything against doing other things. He said no. I looked at the KXR that I had built, and I said that I could utilize some of the same components that I did on the XR. Since I built my own subframe, the door was wide open. I started figuring out the suspension that would work the best, and it seemed to me that the 84 through 87 CR 125 or 250 Honda swing arm and shocks and forks would work. Small modifications to the swing arm and manufacturing of a steel stem was all that I had to do to make it all come together. I built the tank, the oil cooler shrouds, and so many other little bits and pieces for the bike. We run the Armor Rules package as far as displacement, no stroker cranks. Everything is based on the XR200. I also built the XR exhaust system because I build my own exhaust systems. KVR Pro works. And in my opinion, I've got the best carburetor that you could possibly have on that bike. I like a Smart Carb 28 millimeter. I have built several of these bikes. At Diamond Don's in 2023, there were 42 of these bikes in 2 classes. We even had a pro segment, and we're working on some new rules to get more people involved in this XR class. Tim Nash, he introduced me to Johnny O'Mara and asked me, are you the guy who built the XR200s? I was just dumbfounded. Well, I could see why. You've done an absolutely astounding job here, Kurt. Beautiful. And the bikes do look very, very similar to the work bikes. I know you've got Trappist Parker and Kevin Windham and a few other guys riding them now. And I think this bike right here is going to be ridden by Blake Wharton. Either way, you did a stellar job. I love what you've done here. And if you get a hold of me, I'll get you some nice gifts, compliments of Vintage Motocross Q&A. Actually, I think we give away stickers for this segment as well. But let's see what we have rolling around, and we'll get you something. Okay? Thanks for sending that in. As promised, I'm bringing you part 2 of the Roy Vanderveer How to Rebuild Brake Calipers. We got it right here. Let's see what Roy has.
Back for part 2 of our brake caliper tutorial here. We're changing piston seals, and I cleaned up the back side of the caliper, and there absolutely was a lot of corrosion in the groove, for which I busted out my rotary tool with my wire brush, cleaned that groove out till it was perfect. We've got the old O-ring or the old seal, and if you squeeze it, you can feel the new one's a lot softer and a lot more pliable. So I thought, take a minute and we'll install that new piston seal. And usually they go in real easy just like that. Now here's the important part for this segment is once these parts are all cleaned up and you're working with new rubber parts, the only thing that can touch them is the specified brake fluid that this system uses, which for this bike is just, you know, .3 and 3 or 4 brake fluid. And then you don't want to use any chemicals on these rubber parts because it'll cause the parts to fail, become hard or brittle, and not deliver the kind of performance, you know, that we would all want them to. And then this caliper is real nice because since it splits in half, it lets us see all the parts real easy. And then we take the piston, line it back up, and without too much of a fight, it's back home. And then we just have to put the dust cover back on and then clean up this side. The two halves are ready to go back together. It's ready to go back on the bike, and I'm good to go riding. So until next time.
I'm Donnie Hansen. You're watching Vintage Motocross Q&A. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Paul Parkinson with Replica Motorcycle Parts. I'm sitting here with our test bike, which is ridden by Jerry Maddox. It carries the #1 plate in the US. So let's go over a couple of the parts that we've got on here. We've got our ignition cover with the case saver built into it, so that when the chain comes off, you're not damaging your cases. Spacer, foot pegs. Jerry runs our air box. Seat brackets, keeps the seat on tight so he doesn't fall off when he's going over the whoops. And then this side, Jerry runs a couple little things, a lot of little rubber parts on the bike, and that stuff are all done by us. And then down here we've got our brake pedal, which has got needle bearings in there, and then it's got a wider toe peg, so it gives them a real nice, clean, easy to use brake. And then this is our latest part. This is a CR250 type knuckle. In fact, Honda used them on the last versions of the MR175, and this is a real trick aluminum Kickstarter arm. So that gives them lightweight, strength, and reliability more than anything else. Reliability. Paul Parkinson Sr., he is really committed to doing as much as he can to help everybody in the vintage motocross scene. And I found out today, now we know Paul Parkinson Sr., he goes out to Mid-Ohio, he goes to all the East Coast stuff that's in Florida. I see him at York every winter. But I just found out today, get this, he's coming out to the Langston Motorsports Bike Show that happens in October. All the way from Florida, from New York, Pennsylvania, wherever he goes, he's coming all the way out here. He's going to have a beautiful booth set up at the Langston Annual Bike Show. I will be your MC again this year at Langston's. In the meantime, don't forget, here's one of the Kickstarter knuckles he was just talking about. These are available for the 250, which I think is on the left, and the 125, which is on the right. Here's a better shot of it right here. This is definitely the 125. These are so much better, so much stronger than the originals. You want to get a hold of Paul Parkinson Sr. and find out more about all those parts that he has for all those Hondas and stuff like that. All the bikes that he's making really, really great stuff for. You know, a little bit earlier I talked about AMSOIL before I started scratching my eye. And AMSOIL, I have so many products in my shop, thanks to Russell Waters, that was on board with us going back for years. He was one of the first guys that actually came on board with us when we first started doing some shows. Now, this stuff right here, see this? It says heavy duty degreaser. Degreaser to me, Russell, is it's a little bit confusing, and I'll tell you why. When I think of degreasing, I'm thinking of a greasy engine block and things like that. You have a product for that. It's called heavy duty degreaser, okay? I'm sorry. It's not called heavy duty degreaser. It's called something else. This is the heavy duty degreaser, but safely removes grease, oil, adhesives, and tar. Fast acting citrus based degreaser. You know what you could throw in the garbage? WD-40 and Goof Off. This does both and smells better. It's absolutely fantastic. I use this and their glass cleaner in my shop like endlessly. It's incredible. This is a great product. I just wanted to bring that to everybody's attention who uses AMSOIL products and who will be watching in the future for what we do with AMSOIL. All right, good. What else we got coming up? Oh, this week in motocross history, Susie. This week in motocross history. Did you want to do the random share thing? Or do you know who that is?
I do.
Do you want to do that right now while we get started? Before we get started on this?
Yes.
All right. Look, I'm going to put you right here so you can see your beautiful face with your Vintage Motocross Q&A hat. Who won the grips this week, Susie?
That would be Kelly Cole.
Kelly Cole?
Yes.
C-O-L-E?
Kelly with K, Cole with a C. Kelly Cole.
Kelly Cole. You are this week's, what do you call it, Susie? I know what it's called. Viewer Appreciation Prize winner. Viewer Appreciation Prize winner. There we are on the Motion Pro.
But the standards are away.
The standards are away. So look, Kelly Cole, get us your mailing address, okay? Paul will be home in a week or so. We'll get you your grips, okay? Thanks for watching the show. We really, really appreciate you being here. And I was in the This Week in Motocross History segment, brought to you by Racer X Magazine. Remember this picture? How could you forget it? The 250 500 National at Highland Hills in Hillsboro, Ohio, was just like many other nationals back then, with Jimmy Weiner battling Tony DiStefano for the 500 supremacy. New York's Weiner was on a Kawasaki, DiStefano on a CZ. Weiner fell down, and Tony D won the moto. But a third place, the second time out, gave the Jammer an overall and eventually the title. But the race is memorable for one truly epic moment. Weiner came in under DiStefano in that first moto duel for the lead and made contact. And at that moment, it was captured on film by Cycle News photographer Charlie Morey, the future boss of Dirt Rider magazine. The photo is the epitome of motocross in the 70s, and the old battling the young, the Japanese battling the Europeans, and the giants of the era. And this is one of those segments where they say, rubbin' is racing. Two good friends a little bit later on. Yeah, they had a grudge on the track, but there's the Jammer and Tony D kind of reenacting that moment in that corner that was captured by Charlie Morey. 1975, a pair of AMA Nationals held at a pair of different tracks. In San Antonio, Texas, Cyclorama was the scene for the second to last round of the 125 National, and Team Honda's Marty Smith, the defending champion, who also had already clinched the championship, took the win ahead of Kawasaki's Steve Wise. And Bultaco mounted Danny Turner. I have the wrong picture up here. I have Daniel Laporte up here. I meant Danny Turner. Here we go. So what I'm trying to tell you is that it's 75. Smith wins this race, and Steve Wise is there too. But Danny Turner, in the 125 class, gave the Spanish brand its one and only podium in 125 motocross. That is really cool MX history right there. Danny Turner on the 125. My apologies to Danny Turner. Here's a nice picture of Danny and I. We see each other. We see each other always at Hangtown every year, sometimes at the Open Supercross or some other events where we see each other from time to time. Now I will tell you more about this fellow right here. On the second to last round of the 76 AMA Pro Nationals, the 125s are running in Rio Bravo, Texas. The 500s are doing their thing in the Sunshine State in St. Petersburg. In Texas, future AMA Hall of Famer Danny Laporte scored his first victory of his professional career ahead of another future legend, DG mounted Brock Glover, with FMF Honda rider Steve Wise taking third. And there he is, Danny Laporte, future AMA 500cc national winner, a 125 winner in that class, and how can we forget, 1982 250cc world champion, Danny Laporte. In the beginning of the show, I was talking about Roger DeCoster and just how I see it. The man is 80 years old today, and I was wondering if anybody had anything interesting to say about that, Susie? Any notes at all about meeting Roger, getting an autograph, or just everyone probably wishing him a happy birthday? Well, that's the incredible thing about Roger. I mean, here he is, 80 years old. There are 18 Supercrosses a year. There are another, how many outdoor races? Another 15, 18. That's 36 weekends a year on the road. And I'm not just talking about Saturdays and Sundays. I'm talking about the guy's probably leaving home on Thursday. He's not getting back till Sunday night, maybe. He's 80 years old. How long can he keep up that pace? One thing we've learned for sure, and there's just no doubt about it, exercise. Exercise and good diet. That bike riding has really kept Roger in an absolutely incredible condition. When will he retire? I don't think anybody knows. I think as long as we keep having races, Roger is going to continue to be there. Don't forget, if you want to become a Vintage Motocross Q&A show supporter, get a hold of me for just $49.95. We'll get you a nice shirt, and you'll get your name up on the board. If you want to become a sponsor of the show, get a hold of me, and we will make you a sponsor, just like Vinco, Full Circle Racing, Motion Pro, and so many more. I want to welcome back Amsoil and Russell Waters. And last week, what else do we have going on? Just a minute. Oh, that's what we have going on. We've got the SoCal MX Classic still happening. The last round will be at Glen Helen. That's happening on October 5th. You don't want to miss that. There's been some absolutely incredible duels there, and Scott and Debbie Burnworth do an absolutely fantastic job of putting those races together. I also got a nice note from someone that there's this event coming up, the barbecue fundraiser that happens on Saturday, September 28th. Crowder Creek ARP Church. It's a fundraiser. There's a car show. There's motorcycles. And it was my dear friend Al Roof who wanted us to inform everyone that that is coming up on September 28th at the Crowder's Creek Church. What else we got coming up? Oh, yeah. Got a two-stroke extravaganza Sunday, October 6th. Take a look at that little poster I tells you there. It's got free admission. This happens down in Southern California at Camarillo. The two-stroke extravaganza. Never too early to get ready for the York Swap Meet. That's happening on January 12th, 2025. I will be there again this year, along with some guests that remain to be named. Now, earlier in the show, I did promise you that I was going to bring you a video of Jerry Maddox at Moto Masters. I am going to do that. So for the time being, it is goodbye from Joe and Susie and Vintage Motocross Q&A. Do not leave yet. You don't want to miss this video, but we will see you next week on Vintage Motocross Q&A. I'm not even bringing the dogs out. We're going to run this video. Here we go.
Hey guys, I just finished my fourth moto here in upstate New York, and what a great weekend. Wow, I never knew, but I'm about to tell you about it. Get this off real quick. Oh, catch my breath for a second. Wow, 4 great motos at a place called Moto Masters Motocross Complex in Mexico, New York. That's very upstate New York. I realize I'm in Joe Abbate country, but hey, I haven't traveled this far up, but I had heard this is a bucket list track. Turns out in the mid-70s, this track carried several of the big national races, to which the likes of Pierre Carsmaker, Marty Smith rode a 500 here, Jimmy Weiner won a championship here. The list goes on and on. So naturally, when I heard that I get to go to race this track, I was super pumped and excited about it. It's a sand track. It's not horribly aggressive compared to the clay tracks, but it's just a good layout track. It flows nice. And as they do such in a lot of these ARMA Nationals, they mix me with other classes to get the gates big and full. And so I had to race against 500s on Saturday and 250 experts on Sunday. And hey, old Clunker pulled through and we won every race. So that was fantastic. The staff and the management here were fantastic. All the New Yorkers treated me so kind. I got to meet and make some great new friends up here. So if you ever get a chance to come to Moto Masters and race, whether you be on a vintage bike or a modern bike, do so. They're great, great people. Okay, on to the show. I'm going to show you a few video clips of some of the track. I'd like to take you around, let you see the track just a little bit.
But I got schooled this week. I got schooled by a New Yorker that taught me a little trick that, like we do so many times on this show, we might show you a trick that you don't think's relevant to vintage motocross, but it is. And I'll be right back to show you that trick in a few minutes. Take a look around for a sec. When you have a canopy this big, you're trying to close it up by yourself, time to go home, you're tired, raced all weekend. That's exactly what I was doing. Guy from New York walks up on me, says, "Hey, mister, let me show you how you do that." Show me, school me, as they said. So he comes over, he takes my canopy, he grabs it just like this, one arm. Takes his other hand, puts it right here, like so, lifts it up, and says push to the opposite corner, just like this. And the next thing you know, you closed your canopy up by yourself. I got schooled. I got taught. That's a tip I'm sharing on with you guys. Have a great day. Hope you enjoyed the show. See you next time. Next stop, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I'll be reporting back. Bye.
Thanks, Jerry Maddock. We'll see you next time on Vintage Motocross Q&A.